Wejesze wędrán poseją, weosemen wegesymen, kaya panizy oczycia. Kanakana. Bonjour. Chippewa, Nijinakas, Amik Saginaw, Chippewa, Dojba, Anishinaabe, and Dao. My name is Joseph Sowmick. I'm a tribal member from Saginaw, Ojibwe First Nations, commonly referred to as the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe of Michigan. My spirit name is Chimikanik, which means big turtle. I am from the Amik or the Beaver Clan. And I wanted to share with you today some cultural teachings, and that's why I wanted to get started in the spirit of prayer. And one of the songs that I sang was one of our traditional Ojibwe songs that was given to me by my Nokomis, my grandmother, and it's one of the things that we do to start in spirit of prayer. And I also have my Magiji Mingin, my eagle feather, with me because we're going to talk a little bit about some cultural teachings today. And one of the things I wanted to go ahead and to start with the Saginaw Chippewa tribe, we have a sister city in Mount Pleasant. It's over in Okaya, Japan. And I had an opportunity to go there with one of my native brothers to share sunrise ceremonies with the Japanese people. And one of the things that we did in sharing those sunrise ceremonies, we had a chance to go ahead and experience a different culture. And it was my first time having an opportunity to go to Japan, but there was one thing that I kind of looked at that's really important to indigenous teachings. I was able to go to another land, and I was able to see their language and their tradition and their cultures, and I was able to make a connection with it. I remember being able to go ahead and to share the 7 grandfather teachings, which I'm going to share with you today. But I was able to go ahead to go to a Buddhist temple. And when I had a chance to go to that Buddhist temple, I was able to see what kind of medicine that they use for their smudge ceremonies. And just like we would use the abalone shell and that medicine from the western door, that white sage medicine, to do our purification ceremonies in our native culture, they would use this device and they would go around in a circle direction, and they would be able to go ahead and to purify that area. They also had a ishkote, which is in our Ojibwe language a sacred fire, and they had that fire in the center of the room, and all of the Buddhist monks, they would go to each one of those 4 directions and do a prayer for each one of those directions. And all the time they were doing this, they were using their language to go ahead and to chant songs similar to the ones that I shared with you this morning. And to go ahead and to have the music there and to have the drum there. We talk about the drum in our native culture, the Dewagan being the heartbeat of our nation. The Japanese people had a taiko drum, which they would go ahead and to sing their songs with. And being able to connect with the culture, to hear the music, to see their smudge ceremony, it gave me a respect that I felt at home. And one of the things I wanted to impart with you today is this idea of cultural teachings, and I'm going to use the Magiji Mingin as an example of that, because a lot of times we talk about eagle eye vision, and that idea with the eagle eye vision, the eagle is a universal bird that's looked at with reverence and respect. A lot of our tribes use eagle feathers in their ceremonies. A lot of our traditional dancers have bustles with eagle feathers. Eagle feathers are seen on our staffs. But to go ahead and look at the qualities of an eagle is a great hunter that can see for miles. But just like that eagle, a lot of times with eagle eye vision, we have an inability to see those things that are up close to us. And a lot of times, that's when we need help. And one of the things that we look at with the Saginaw Chippewa Tribal Court is we embrace this thing we call medically assisted treatment, but we also look at the cultural teachings and how we can bring that together. One of the things that we talk about is cultural health literacy, and that's being able to go to where the message is. And a lot of times we kind of look at the red road of wellbriety, that eastern door of medicine where we have to start somewhere, and we embrace the teachings of the White Bison group out of Colorado Springs, and the 4 paths to the red road of wellbriety. One of the things that happens is the true change must come from within. When you're looking at addiction, there has to be this belief right in your heart that you know that your life is not going the way that you would like it to go, and that true change has to break through that addiction to where the person wants to embrace the recovery, the person wants to embrace those cultural teachings. Next, there needs to be a vision. What are those teachings going to look like? What is that red road for that person going to look like? What is the recovery going to look like? And a part of that, there must be a great teaching. And even with the 12 steps of Alcoholics Anonymous, it leads us down a path of wellness. And in this case, with the White Bison, with that great teaching, it could be from ceremony, it could be from the teachings of the Sweat Lodge, it could be from teachings of traditional elders, but to be able to go ahead and to find yourself in those great teachings. And the fourth part of the red road of wellbriety is there must be a healing forest. And being able to go ahead and to connect with a group of like-minded people. A lot of times in our native culture, we talk about connecting with that medicine wheel. And with our creation story, we learn that when the red man, the white man, the black man, and the yellow man can all come together in a circle, it's in our diversity that makes us stronger. It's who we are as a people, and the colors bring us together, and that circle brings us together. And a lot of that is trying to find your center fire. And when we look at those medicine wheel teachings in particular, we look at that eastern door, and a lot of the colors are different from some of the tribes, but we kind of look at that red road of wellbriety where the eastern door is where that tobacco is, that sema that we use for our ceremonies for prayer. Each strand is a prayer that we can go ahead and to use in our recovery. We look at that as the physical side of our recovery. And the southern door, that color yellow, that direction of the life givers, the direction of the woman, the direction of the youth, to go ahead and to look at those mental aspects of our recovery. With the western door, we look at the emotional aspects of our recovery. We look at that western door where that sage medicine is, and similar to that southern door where the sweetgrass is, these good medicines can lead us down that path of recovery. And then the northern door, that Kewadenang, that spiritual side of us. So you're looking at the physical, the mental, the emotional, and the spiritual. All of these quadrants putting together in your life, and how is your life moving within these quadrants. And one of the things we talk about to our clients as they embrace the healing to wellness concepts as listed by the courts, we talk about the importance of finding your center fire. And a lot of times for our clients, addiction can go ahead and to drain you in a lot of ways. Physically, I feel very tired this morning, and mentally, I have a hard time focusing. Emotionally, my emotions are up and down and all around, and it affects my ability to concentrate. And spiritually, I just don't feel connected. And at any given time, a person can be all over that medicine wheel. But the idea that we kind of put to a person is, how do you find your sacred fire? How do you go ahead and to stay in the center of that medicine wheel, where you're not too high, you're not too low, you're in that place where you know where the sacred fire is, and you can go ahead and to live a better life. That's what we call minnow b'madzuin, living that good life. And a lot of times, these cultural teachings can go ahead and to bring us there. One of the things that I talk about with the fire keepers is the importance of finding that spark. And when we make those sacred fires, that ishkate, we use that skatagan from the birch bark, and we use that flint rock with our striker. And all of our sacred fires begin with that first strike, with that spark, because without that spark of recovery, to go ahead and to walk in a spiritual way, to have that minnow b'madzuin, it will be a challenge for us as we continue our journey. And we like to go ahead and to look at those good medicine teachings that can lead us there. I wanted to go ahead and share with you today one of the teachings that I received from one of my elders. And I've been on the fasting teachings. I've had the opportunity to do this 3 different times, twice at the Sanilac Petroglyphs and once at Mission Point up there in Bay Mills country. But the one that I'd like to concentrate on is Mission Point, because I found that was a process of living instead of a process of dying. But being up on Mission Point on the mountain in the fasting teaching with no food and no water, and with my sacred fire and my cedar circle of protection, and communing in the spirit of prayer with natures, for 4 days and 4 nights, my elder Mukatayanequet checked up on me. And after that 4-day, 4-night teaching, my elder took me into Sweat Lodge, and after Sweat Lodge, took me down to the banks of Lake Superior. And my elder shared a teaching of the 7 grandfathers. And the 7 grandfathers: honesty, truth, wisdom, bravery, love, respect, and humility. And my elder asked me a question, and Mukatayanequet wanted to know which one of those grandfathers I believed is most important, that made all of those other grandfathers work. And I thought of that for a moment, and being a res kid, I was born and raised on the Saginaw Chippewa reservation, and I've always heard of those teachings that are out of the book with the red letters. We had our Methodist church on the hill, the Chippewa Indian Methodist Church, and I always heard of this 1 Corinthians 13th chapter about love being patient, love being kind, and I was thinking it might have been the grandfather love. And my elder mentioned that, well, love is a great grandfather to have, but that's not necessarily what he was looking for. And then I remembered my father always teaching me our traditional way of life when we talked about respect. Respect for Mother Earth, respect for our language, respect for our culture, respect for our teachings. So I mentioned to my elder, well, is it that grandfather respect? And my elder mentioned that grandfather respect is a good grandfather to have, but that's not what he was thinking about. And then he did something pretty special, and being Beaver Clan, He used to call me Flat Tail, and he went ahead and he reached down on the banks of Lake Superior and he pulled out some sand, and he said to me, all we are, Flat Tail, are grains of sand on Mother Earth, and we're only here for a short period of time. And then he started talking about that grandfather humility. And to go ahead and to have that grandfather humility that makes all of those other grandfathers work, we have to be open to these teachings. We have to go ahead and to look at different points of view. And a lot of times for our native people, a lot of the messages are in these teachings that we've had for years and years and years. I have a lot of friends out there that work for the Substance Abuse Mental Health Service Administration, our SAMHSA brothers and sisters, and a lot of times they talk about evidence-based practices, how it's important to go ahead and to look at those kind of teachings, especially when you're talking about medically assisted treatment. But one of the things that I've learned is elders and people that go on fasting teachings, we get our PhDs on the Hill. We get our PhDs in ceremony, and we've been using the eagle feather, the sacred fire, the smudge ceremonies, and these are our cultural connections to cultural literacy. These are our connections to healing, and we look at that as evidence-based practices from years and years ago. And it's been proven time and time again when our native people in our indigenous cultures use the music, use the language, and use those teachings and embrace things like humility, maybe we can find ourselves in some of these other good teachings. And our Ojibwe creation story is a part of that. One of the things that I also learned from Mukatayanequit, he was also a person of science too. And, with medically assisted treatment, you can look at naloxone, you can look at buprenorphine, you can look at a lot of the work that's being done with methadone. Even in our Nimki clinic, we're embracing our medically assisted treatment. But one of the things that we found out, there are 32 genetic codes inherent in Western medicine, but when you have an indigenous person and you bring in the smudge ceremony, when you bring in the jingle dress teachings, when you bring in the traditional music, when you bring in all of those things to bear, you can double those healing aspects of medically assisted treatment with cultural medically assisted treatment and have better outcomes. How do I know this personally? I get an opportunity to go to hospitals. I get an opportunity to go into places of confinement, and just being able to bring my shaker in and to share our native music, to be able to bring in the smudge ceremony, to bring in my eagle feather, and to share some of these teachings, it helps relax our client. It helps them to be a part of. And I think these teachings are evidence-based. And one of the last things that I wanted to share with you this morning is how our native culture can go ahead and to connect in a lot of different ways. And I think everyone would like to go ahead and to be a part of the sacred fire, but a lot of times, people tend to go ahead and they're apprehensive on those things that they don't know about. That's why it's important to have that grandfather humility to go ahead and to open up that dialogue. In closing, I would like to go ahead and to share one more teaching with you. And this is a Nanabuju teaching from our Ojibwe culture. And the creator, Gitchimanado, had a wonderful gift to give all people, but the creator wanted to make sure that people appreciated to get the gift, to give it to the people. And the creator called in The young warrior Nanabuju called in Brother Eagle and called in Brother Bear and asked them what to do with the gift. And Brother Eagle spoke first because he's the messenger of the Creator. And Brother Eagle spoke up and said, Creator, if you have a gift that you want to give to all of the people, why don't you give that gift to me? I'll go ahead and to fly that gift to the highest part of the mountain. People would really have to want the gift to go there. And then Brother Bear spoke up, and Brother Bear is kind of gruff and, said, Creator, why don't you give me that gift? I'll swim that gift to the bottom of Lake Superior. People would really have to want the gift to go there. And then that young warrior Nanabuju spoke up. And in our native culture, a warrior is defined of somebody doing the right thing for the right reasons. And that young warrior spoke up and said, Creator, Gichimanado, I know exactly what you can do with that gift. Why don't you put that gift in the heart of every person? They'll never look for it there. One of the teachings that we have inherent in our native culture is we are heart people. To go ahead and to look inward, why wouldn't we want to embrace cultural literacy? Why wouldn't we want to embrace these good medically sensitive teachings of our ancestors? To go ahead and to look at Western medicine, to be able to walk in both worlds. That's what I find our native culture is doing today. And we can use our technology, we can use Western medicine, but to remember where we came from and to be able to use these good teachings of Mino Bamadzewin, the good life, and to be able to go ahead and to embrace all of those teachings. It'll help us all in recovery. And for those people that work with people of addiction, it'll also open our mind to different concepts. We'd like to say Chi Miigwech from the Saginaw Chippewa Indian tribe for being able to share these teachings with you. And as my elder mentions, Miigwech not only means thank you, it also means thank you for your life. Miigwech.